So moving on to our next speaker is Ryan Post. Ryan hails from downtown Nottawasaga Valley. He has a master's in science from Laurentian University, and he's a professional geoscientist. At the Nottawasaga Conservation Authority, he's employed as the lead hydrogeologist, and he supervises groundwater maintenance programs and key programs including source water protection, risk management, and groundwater work monitoring, and technical plan reviews. This past summer, Ryan ran a half marathon until he discovered that that wasn't very much fun, especially in the heat. But being a good scientist, he took 4 more tries at it just to confirm the hypothesis that it wasn't very much fun running marathons in 2017. So with that, I'll call up Ryan Post.
Thanks, Bruce. Actually, I ran just one marathon in 2017. It was in Ottawa. It was about 24 degrees with the humidex, felt like 30. I got a good suntan, actually a sunburn, and then it wasn't much fun. No. So, but I've done 3 previous marathons, but they say never, right? Well, I don't know what that means anymore. So yeah, I'm the lead hydrogeologist at the NVCA. I can glamorize that. It really means a lot of emails and meetings. That's pretty much what it is, and with the focus on groundwater. So I figure we're on this side of lunch, so I'm going to present maybe a smorgasbord of things related to groundwater. So I'm going to focus initially on groundwater monitoring, and then I'm going to shift towards two special projects that we did. One is finishing up, and another that we did that looks at quality and quantity of groundwater. So at the NVCA, I'm the lead hydrogeologist looking at the groundwater monitoring program. The key areas that we're involved in right now is source water protection. We're a risk management official or office for 9 of our member municipalities implementing the source protection plan, technical plan review, so looking at water impacts on proposed development, groundwater monitoring, and also special benefiting projects. I mean, we do a lot of work, and we have a lot of horsepower up there with myself and Angela Mills sitting back there executing these deliverables right here. And as you're thinking back there, saying, where is that NVCA, that Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority? So we're located pretty much, think of Highway 9, you draw a line from Orangeville, Shelburne, Collingwood up on the western front, and then Barrie over on the eastern front and up to Georgian Bay or Wasaga Beach. So we're about 3,300 square kilometers based on the geography. Jurisdictionally, we're 3,600 square kilometers. So when we look at groundwater monitoring, what I look at is our 3 major programs that we do at the NVCA, which consist of our provincial groundwater monitoring program, our Simcoe groundwater monitoring network, and our Minising wetland monitoring network. I'm going to focus on number 1 and 2, are what we call our PGMN. We love acronyms, so I'm going to call that PGMN, and also our Simcoe groundwater monitoring network. We haven't figured out a fancy word for that one yet. So what is this provincial groundwater monitoring network? It's a partnership between the MOECC, 36 conservation authorities, and 10 municipalities. Its objective is to collect ambient baseline condition or ambient groundwater information on the levels of the aquifers and also quality in these key aquifers to manage and protect the Ontario groundwater resources. It started or commenced back in about 2000, and there's just shy of 500 of these monitoring wells located across pretty much southern Ontario, or where we have our conservation authorities and some of our municipalities, such as up in Severn Sound and North Bruce. And what this consists of is we collect water level information, 24/7, 365, continuously throughout the year. And also we have water quality sampling that's completed in the fall. And that's only done on about 360 of those wells. And for more additional information, you can go to that lovely website and to your heart's content and read all on that stuff. So within the NVCA, our PGMN program comprises of 19 wells at 11 locations covering these 3,300 square kilometers. Our length of record for these wells ranges from about 2002 to 2015, or actually should be 2017 present, with wells coming in online as late as 2002 and up to about 2015. So we had some recently new wells integrated into our program in here. And within these 19 sites, or these 11 locations, 2 of them have rain gauges associated with them, and 1 of them has a soil moisture. So we're looking at more of an integrated approach going forward on this PGMN program. And how the relationship is as the province provides the equipment, the analysis, and the CA out there goes out there and they get their suntan, they do the field work, and they do the water quality sampling. So we're out there on a monthly basis during snow-free season and days that are like this, which is nice, to do our monthly statics, and then we do our fall water quality sampling. We did it last week and the week before, and let me tell you, it was phenomenal outside. There's nothing worse than going out in November and it's raining and it's +1 to do that. But you can look at our map right here, and we can look at the distribution of our PGMM program. So it's very, we'll call it diffuse, and not much out there in terms of concentrations for this. And when we look at the agricultural sector or land uses associated with these wells, I believe we have 3 of them, when I was doing my calculations before this, that back onto or right near agricultural land uses. And these wells are the purpose is to collect information on ambient water quality or baseline conditions. And so they're pretty much not near, we'll call it, major pumping stations or major permit take water locations for that. So I'm a hydrogeologist, so I get excited about this stuff sometimes. So when I look at a well, let's be realistic. We go out there on the landscape, we see a little pipe sticking out of the ground, can be blue, can be green, not too exciting. But I look at the opportunity to collect information and getting an integrated understanding of how groundwater management can be impacted or done on this one. So when we look at our provincial groundwater monitoring well, you might be driving along the landscape and you see, well, there's a funky green box on top of one of these steel pipes out there. That's what these PGMN wells pretty much look like. And this is what we call, our site is, we have an FTS modem in here. So it has live transmission of the water level information, also temperature, over into the M&R Whiskey Pro system that we can go and get this information on a relatively real-time basis. And we say we're still working towards that, but we have this opportunity. We have loggers deployed in these wells, and also 5 of our sites have these FTS modems. So we're moving forward with enhanced technologies for integrated data management or water management. We sit back here and we live in a data-rich society. We can go out there, we can find anything we want pretty quick. We use the Google to go and to get that information. So with regards to PGMN, we can go online to this Ontario website and we can say, well, I want to find out in this neighborhood, is there any PGMN wells located proximally to me? And if so, can I get that information? This is historical information, but can we get that information? And what does it tell me? So I look at that in the XYZ coordinates. So I was sitting back on the office, I don't know if you can see that very good in the back. I said, I'm going to look at one of my wells. I know this thing exists, I never really use it. I provide them with the data, I get the data back and see what it is. So this is the MOE website. I have one well here just located outside of Midhurst, Snow Valley, Ski Hill, if you recognize that, it's right near there. So I can go on there and I can click on the page here, and I can get information on XYZ, you know, where the coordinates are and how deep what I call my screen elevation is. So I can see how deep that is meters below ground surface. And I also get information on water quality and also water levels. And I can get an understanding on, you know, what the geology or what is the hydrostrat this area is completed into, and some additional information on this one. And from that, I can see how is this well behaving over this period of time. Is it trending up or is it trending down, or can I identify some water quality issues, and how does that relate to my Ontario drinking water quality standards? So that's data availability for our PGMN program in a nutshell. And I also want to touch base on this other lovely one we have. It's a network that has a non-defined name right now. It's always changing. I call it the Simcoe Groundwater Monitoring Network South Central. We added and contracted the way we want to. So what we've done here is, as a CA, we have limited resources. As the NVCA, we have maybe more limited resources. But we look at opportunities out there to say, can we go and partner with different agencies with different scopes in here to build our understanding of certain program areas, in this sense, looking at geology or hydrogeology. So we were very fortunate to partner with the Ontario Geological Survey because they wanted to look at how our groundwater resources are evolving or potentially changing when we look at where growth demands are going to be. As I mentioned before, we're just a hop, skip, and a jump over from the Oak Ridge Moraine. So you know how Vaughan is I think it's the city north of Toronto. I see, Bradford, where I'm from, which is on the fringes of the NBC, is going to be in the coming years will be the city north of the city called Vaughan. So as we go there, we see, a lot of development and growth pressures in this area too. So the Ontario Geological Survey was we were very fortunate that the Ontario Geological Survey decided to come into the NVCA and do what we call a three-dimensional geological project. Drill down to bedrock, see what the geology is there, so they can define the different areas for where we have our aquifers or our aquatards, and get a very integrated understanding of that geology. And we were very fortunate from this that they drilled these brilliantly beautiful, well, from my perspective, boreholes, and then they they completed them as monitoring wells. So we're able to augment our PGMM program within the NVCA with an additional 29 monitoring wells. And these are typically installed in a shallow setting where they're twinned and a deep setting right here. And similar to our PGMM sites, we're trying to get information on our groundwater levels, and when we can find the resources, looking at water quality on these regional aquifers. And from that, we can take that original map where we had those 11 sites of their PGMN wells, and now we can start layering additional information on here. We live in a data-rich society, and we want to find out if there's an opportunity to start integrating different data sources in here for our decision-making processes. So we can have this, and on the right top left-hand corner, we have multiple different colors on here which reflect our existing PGMN wells, our new OGS wells, and existing OGS wells. So our distribution is a lot more tighter now than it was before when we just had our sole PGMN wells. Look at groundwater data use. I mean, really, whenever I look at water resources issue within the physical component, I look at ground, surface, quality, quantity. Those are the four major things I do. And when I look at groundwater use, give me that Z coordinate so I can look at the screen elevation. But when I look at groundwater, it's essentially, we have one that says my level and one on the top. And how can we use this information? So within the PGM program, at the provincial level, you can use it for low water response. You can look at permanent take water applications if they're proximal to where this is, and in the same hydrostrat unit. Municipal programs, development reviews, we can look at watershed plans, and also the York, Durham, Peel groundwater program. And at the Conservation Authority, we can use it for our watershed report cards, annual reports that we did for the groundwater program, and also special benefiting projects out there too. So we can use this and leverage it for other programs out there too. And just a benefit for the NVCA, you can go on this website and we have all of our special projects on there too. So I was developing this presentation last night, and my kids were bothering me, and they asked the two questions, or I asked them to do something. They asked me the two questions. They always ask me, what do you ask me to do? And why, Dad? And then, and I sat back and I said, well, or I was typing away in the presentation, I just put why in there. And then I realized, why is this relevant? Why is groundwater information relevant? It's typically, you look down the well, you may hear an echo, hello, 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 and the water level is pretty deep in there. So how does it impact this guy's field right here? I wish I had one with center pivot, but no, I could only get that one for this one, corn and wheat. And the question is, we want to be able to use our different data sources out there for our decision-making processes. We want to evaluate where do we have an understanding of our climate information? Do we have an understanding of our soil moisture and groundwater? And how does that all impact our decision-making processes? And this is where I come, as I start moving forward or advance into my later years of my career, I look at hydroclimatic monitoring. And groundwater forms one component of it. Is there an opportunity out there to look at, from a spatial perspective, intensive versus extensive, looking at the components of the water cycle? Is there an opportunity to use field-based monitoring and integrate that with the, remote sensing for model forecasting? Weather network, same sort of thing, approach. is there an opportunity to look at from an administrative aspect, you know, public-private partnerships so we can augment the information and data together into a more user-friendly thing? And can we augment different discipline information out there so we have a bigger and more complete picture, integrated water monitoring? And then how does this impact our program delivery? We have looking at low water conditions. We go from a meteorological drought, which is focused on precipient ET, flip it in certain areas to agricultural. Now we're talking about soil moisture, and then hydrological, we're looking at groundwater and surface water. And is there an opportunity, so this is my Bradford PGM site, to make Keystone or a golden spike monitoring site where we have, in this sort of situation, taken early in the morning, we have 3 groundwater wells here. We have a rain gauge and also soil moistures to take that into more of an integrated approach. And then ultimately, we take this in and look at groundwater monitoring. I look at groundwater data management. Monitoring data is a seamless entity right here. And this is from Steve Hollish's group over in TRCA. And we're looking at having a complete understanding, a solid database where we have all these different parameters together. We can use this for analysis, interpretation, and have feedback mechanisms in there for our modeling and our decision-making purposes, and from that planning perspective for that. So that's where I see it going on this one. So I just want to touch base quickly on a couple of special projects that we're working on. One dealing with quantity and one dealing with quality. And an area near and dear to my heart, because I travel through it every day to and from work, is the Innisfil Creek Sub-Watershed. So located just within our southeast quadrant of our NVCA watershed. It's about 400 and just south of 500 square kilometers. And this area has intensive agriculture. We have done extensive CA agricultural collaboration in the past. We have development pressures in here. And it's a relatively dynamic and changing landscape based on growth pressures around here. But just to touch base, in the green one? The green one, I don't want to press the wrong button. So in the lowlands here, we have a lot of potato and sod. And then up in the, we'll call it the muck soils, we have onions and carrots in here, which are driven most predominantly by irrigation opportunities or pressures. So when we look at the irrigation system distribution in here, we see that we have outlined in the triangles a lot of, in the circles in here, we have a lot of center pivot irrigation from a common source, which is the Innisfil Creek and its tributaries. I'll take it a step back. When we look at the perma-take water distribution within the Innisfil Creek area, it can be subdivided into 2 things. One, municipal, or predominantly municipal, this is groundwater. Agricultural is predominantly surface water. So we have a nice, very clear division on this one. And for the surface water, it's for that potatoes and sod in the lowlands, and then in the upper reaches the carrots and the onions. Lo and behold, based on the limited recharge opportunities up in the till headwaters of the area, this area, once we have a meteorological drought, kind of gets flipped into an agricultural drought pretty quick, just because we have a common source of water takings within this area. And we can see the distribution of our low water response periods for 2001 to 2012. It hasn't been updated. And our poster child for this time was 2007, where we experienced level 3 conditions under the low water response program. Through this drought monitoring project that we're wrapping up right now, which is a collaboration between we received funding through MNRF, through the water budget program out of Source Water Protection, and we have retained Blue Metrics and also Matrix Solution to undertake an evaluation of this area. We're looking at climate scenarios and situation for this area. And a whole bunch of other things, looking at doing a drought management project, which should be ready for release in the month of October. So what they did for this one right here is one component of the project was, can we evaluate our existing, our modeled information from an integrated surface water and groundwater model, and forecast out using climate scenarios, see what the conditions will be like in 2041 to 2070. And then from that, looking at the frequency of level 3 low water conditions. And from this graph here, we can see that, using the climate information, the various models in here, through this period in the future, that we're going to be anticipating to see additional level 3 low water conditions, ranging, depending on the models, from up to 70% of the time during certain summer periods. So we're anticipating low water conditions, very severe low water conditions in this area based on the geology of the area, not necessarily due to the taking of it. So we have this anticipated impact due to what Peter said, it was a changing climate or climate change in this area. So Rob DeLoe mentioned beforehand about collaborative research, collaborative work, and then one component of the Innisfil Creek, as we mentioned beforehand, is extensive CA and agricultural community collaboration. And out of the 2007 drought, we structured the Innisfil Creek Water Users Association, one of these local level driven initiatives. And the objective of this group was, coordinate, farmer requirements, looking at water management issues, structured takings and stuff like that. Act as a contact and assist with mediation on these issues, promote BMPs, and then assist on water-related issues. And the membership consisted of, sod, potato, bean, nursery stock, sweet corn, and we also have extensive agency involvement. They've been kind of quiet lately, but we still have this mechanism for this project right here. So the question here is that we know from the Innisfil Creek area that we're having a changing climate. It's going to get drier. It's not a very big system. We have a predominantly surface water system. Is there an opportunity to look at groundwater as a potential issue, additional resource to offset those conditions that are coming up? And Innisfil Creek sits within the Laurentian Channel, which is a very productive area that ranges from, I think, Wasaga Beach down to Toronto. Nice big trough in there. So that's one opportunity in here. So looking at how groundwater information can feed into looking at development potential options moving forward. So I just wanted to also touch base quickly, as my time is slowly running out, on another project. I got 10 minutes? Oh, I can talk forever then, Bruce. Yes, that's right. Yes, right. All right, so 7.5 minutes I have left then. That's right, compromise there. So one other project I want to touch base with is looking at water quality from a groundwater component. And I want to touch base on a project we did a few years back, the Ontario Farm Groundwater Quality Survey Project. So back in, I guess, the early 90s, I'll look at Tiffany, OFA, University of Waterloo, came out and did a project looking at to characterize water quality in the agricultural community or the rural landscape. And it consisted of sampling a whole bunch of domestic wells and also installing 144 of these multi-level wells. And they sampled two different periods, winter of 91 and then summer of 92, and they sampled for the parameters that you see here. And the papers were published in the Journal of Contaminant Hydrogeology by Dave Rudolph and Mike Goss back in 1998. So they had all these wells installed here, and some of the highlights that came out of this was they showed exceeding concentrate at 23% of these multi-level sites, concentrations of 50% or more of the exceeded the Ontario Drinking Water Quality Standards for nitrate. Very few pesticides were detected, but we also see it from our understanding of the nitrogen cycle that we see a decrease in our nitrate levels as we go with increasing depth. So I got my hands on this paper, and sitting back on the old desk there one day reading this, and I said, well, where are these multi-level wells really installed? And I took out the old Sharpie and I looked at that and said, there's some in Niagara, some in Long Point, some in the Upper Thames area, Essex, and lo and behold, there's some in the NBCA. And I saw it at Tiffany, and she goes, it would be a good idea. And maybe I might be mischievous. I said, what would be a good idea? Why don't we go and look at if we can find these wells and resample them, because they haven't been touched in 91 or 92. So this is about 15 years, or 20 years, they haven't been touched. So you know what? I like that idea. It gets me out of my office, gets me into the sunshine, and see if we can find these wells right here. So we threw together a project, so WISA and the NVCA, looking at a feasibility. We had 144 of these multi-level wells installed in the landscape and see in farmers' fields and say, can we go and find these things and can we sample them? Because 10 of these wells were installed out of the 144 were in the NVCA. So here's our distribution of our wells. Lo and behold, also predominantly within the Innisfil Creek area. And what they are these, these wells are, so they're completed 2 feet below grade. So what you have to do is you got to go out there with what we call a metal detector to go and find them if you can see where they're located. And then they go beep, 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 just like a metal detector. And then you just unearth them, and then this is what you find. So yeah, our methodology was look at the data set because they haven't been touched in 20, at that time about 20, 25 years. Find out where they're located. Can we get access to the site? Can we locate them? And then can we sample them and then complete a questionnaire with the landowner to see if anything has changed in the last 20 years on land uses. So I like the summer work. That's me on the upper left-hand corner. It was a bit cold. So we did a post-harvest late October into November. So essentially we had the metal detector walking on some guy's field. Once we locate them, we dug it out while we had a careful watch of the landowner on me. And then from that, we sampled them. And we, partnered with the Environment Canada. We had a peristaltic pump to sample all these multi-levels out there. So the multi-levels for this sort of situation range from, I think, like 1.5 meters below grade up to 8 meters below grade in different settings on this one. So when I look at a water quality project right here for this one right here, we had 10 of these wells located within the NVCA watershed. And once again, I just wanted, we wanted to find out if we could actually locate these wells and if we could sample them and see what they said. So the big unknown right here. So we had 10 of these in the NVCA. We were able to get permission for 7 of them, and then one of them, remember the original project, and then 3 out of the 7 wells were located, and these were found in corn and wheat and cash crop settings. They weren't found in, we'll call it carrots, onions, or potato and crop, where we had more, we found them in where we had no to minimum till type of settings based on the crop type. And once they're located, they're easily sampled. So, yeah, we were able to, so all the levels were sampled for water levels and also for quality. Because we only have 2 data points, it's really hard to make recommendations conclusions to say, yes, we've had dramatic changes over 20 years, we need maybe 1 or 2 more additional points, but it doesn't rule out groundwater impact results from BMPs being in place right here. So, and yeah, I mean, we went to one site and we had this sort of equipment. This sort of equipment being towed behind a tractor, and the wells were 2 feet below grade. So you can understand that it might got ripped up. And lo and behold, we did not find our well at that site. Yeah, so. And then the project partners was University of Waterloo and Guelph, EC, AFC, OFA, Ontario Farm Environmental Coalition, and OMAFRA on this one. And we received funding from this project from CAP. So that was a water quantity project with a water quality project at that one. So anyways, that's, I hope, a brief overview of groundwater monitoring and also looking at the management aspect of it. So thank you very much.